Belief and doubt. I wanted to make a video about belief and doubt. I do talk about them both a good amount. And when it comes to waking up, the insight into the nature of doubt is part and parcel of the shift that we call awakening, the shift in identity. Now, that may not be always completely obvious as that shift occurs, but often it is. And more importantly, you know something has changed about this sense of doubt that has clouded your experience throughout life up until that point. In fact, for me, it felt something like a kind of a blanket I was wearing, some heavy weighted blanket that I had been wearing throughout the years of my life, that had actually gotten a little heavier and a little heavier, but it happened so slowly I didn't notice it. I knew I was uncomfortable. I knew I was suffering in some way. I knew that the thoughts felt so suffocating, and there was something weird about the way thoughts were and my attachment to them. And there was something just about thoughts that was super uncomfortable. But I didn't realize that there was also this almost physical weight that suddenly was lifted with awakening. And I think what that probably is the attachment to doubt that is suddenly broken with awakening. Meaning we see that doubt is really just a bunch of thoughts. It's a bunch of thoughts that feel like you, right? I doubt myself, so then I doubt everything. And what's strange is this can also parade as certainty. So this is why I said at the beginning, this is about doubt and belief. This video is somewhat in a response to some comments I've seen recently. Sometimes someone will just pop onto my channel, or they find my videos for the first time, and they have this little bit of a sort of, they're discounting what I'm saying in a way, which is fine. But there's a bit of this sort of arrogance about it, and it's very thought identified. And, I used to live in that world. I know how that feels to live that way, where we're so out of touch even with the fact that we have so much doubt that we're carrying, that we kind of have this reaction formation where we formulate beliefs as a different kind of identity, a kind of superficial identity, and we don't realize how hollow that is as well. So there's this strange place before awakening where, although we know something feels off, we know that there's a possibility called awakening, perhaps, or we have a sense of it. We have a sense that there's something that could shift, or could some insight that could be gained, and yet our mind is still so solid at that point that we really intellectualize all this, and there's a bit of an arrogance to it, and so forth. This is just how it goes sometimes, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. I'm sure I was this way. And the key really to find your way through this, if you want to find your way through this, is to really see how tied together doubt and certainty are, right? Sometimes I say things like more real than real, or when you wake up, you recognize the feeling of reality so much more clearly than you were experiencing it before. You still see that it was there. It's not like new, but the cloud of doubt that clears was so engulfing that we were actually out of touch with the just natural flow of experience and the simple simplicity of truth that is not a truth you can write out in words. It's not a truth that's a philosophical statement. It's not a truth that is subject to doubt. That's the hard part that I think people just rebel against, that there's something that is more powerful and more real, more primary than their own identification with doubt and certainty, right? Which two sides of the same coin. So is there something that's more real than real? Yes, in a way there is. There's an experiential insight that dawns, that you realize, there are a million analogies for this, but like in my book, I talk about it with VR headset, where you've been in this very small room looking out what you think are windows, but they're imagination windows. You're seeing some world that your mind is constructing, but fundamentally you're stuck in a room. You're stuck in a small place. Well, when you finally open the door and walk through it, which has to be the unknown, it's a door, not a window, right? It's unknown what's on the other side of that. When you look out the windows, or you think those are windows, the virtual reality windows, you're actually kind of creating that scenery without realizing it, right? That's the certainty that's a reaction formation to doubt. But when you actually open the door of uncertainty, of mystery, which requires often a willingness to go into your fear. That's the thing that the sort of arrogant mind identified ego does not want to do, right? It thinks it's so smart and it's got it all figured out, and it's really good at criticism. It's really good at judgment and so forth, but it's actually really afraid. And when you're able to move through that fear, put your hand on that doorknob, open the door and step outside, now you know what is meant by more real than real. More real than what you thought was real. More clear sense of being than what you thought you were before, what you took yourself to be. So there are a lot of pointers in traditional, Advaita, Vedanta, and perhaps in Buddhism as well in this way. But the pointer is something like, look into what you take yourself to be, right? Don't worry about all the judgments and doubts and certainties and what you think you know and philosophies. Don't worry about all that. That's just That's just going to add to the confusion. Go for your identity structure. What are you, right? What is it that has to be primary to those doubts and those certainties? Because the doubts and certainties come and go. They're thoughts. So of course they come and go. There's something that doesn't come and go. Become curious about that. Go after the identity, right? Don't assume that you are what you take yourself to be. See that you take yourself to be that and be willing to investigate, okay, well, what the heck am I then if it's not that? Because you can see pretty quickly it's not that. That's not what you are. So then it's like, well, what am I then, right? Really good question if it's juicy for you. You could also ask, what is this? What is this? When there's no doubt applied and there's no certainty applied and no philosophy applied and no judgment applied and no label applied to the experience right now, what is this? What is this, right? You can touch what is beyond doubt and beyond certainty pretty easily in this way, in the way I just showed you. But again, the barriers will be emotional in nature usually to go deeper. And deeper means to where something actually shifts about identity. To where the spell that feels so binding of what you take yourself to be is suddenly not binding. You'll still see the thoughts, right? You'll still see a thought that says, oh, I'm this and I'm that. And it'll be laughable because you see they are thoughts. But there's something far more real here. It's just it, That's the key to this doubt/belief mechanism. Is to see what it is that's not subject to any of that, the doubt and the belief. Or just go right after the identity structure. What am I? Without doubt and without belief, what am I? Without doubt and without belief, who am I? These are good questions to ask yourself. Or look into doubt, really. Just notice again and again those thoughts come, doubt, in various forms, right? The doubt of self-doubt, the doubt of judgment. Judgment has a lot of doubt built into it, but it's externally projected and often comes with a kind of blame or arrogance or whatever. But it's just doubt underneath it all. Making a study of it. Well, okay, if doubt is a thought, because I can see it, and I can see it, and I can see it again, what's here that's just not subject to that? Doesn't doubt itself, doesn't need to confirm itself either, right? Doesn't need doubt or certainty. What is it that's free of doubt and certainty? Check it out.